All right, final thing. 3D design. The last two projects are actually combination, basically a design document for the final project and then the actual final project itself. So to begin with, the design document is a document where you're trying to spell out exactly what you're going to do for a 30-second animated scene. The whole goal of this is for you to figure out what you're going to do and for me to figure out if it's too easy or too hard, which is basically what all of these details are getting at. So what is the story you're telling? What models are you going to have in your environment? What are the other objects in your scene? So what is being animated? And how is the scene going to change? So that's the goal of this 30-second scene design document. Once you do that, you're actually going to create said 30-second movie. So that you know, 30 seconds at 24 frames a second is about 720 frames. So in Blender, the idea is that you're going to set up your scene and you're going to use keyframe animation in much the same way you did with the bouncing ball or the camping scene and do that throughout your project. One thing to watch out for, sometimes when you lock in keyframes in object mode, it is different than keyframes in pose mode. So that is something you'll have to be careful of. We've had problems before where if you try and lock in keyframes in object mode, it doesn't do any poses then. It basically overwrites all of the poses. So pick one or the other and stick to it, whatever you're going to do. So, as far as frames, 720 frames. It's at 24 frames per second, which is what it should stay at, by the way. And then you can basically set up your camera in the same way you did for the bump map, where you set it up for example, an AVI JPEG and render that out. So when you're all done, you're going to have a Blender file and a movie file. The movie file should have the beautiful scene. Something else to keep in mind, you can move a camera around and lock in keyframes for that as well. So you can actually move the camera around in your scene as it goes along. So you may want to actually have it, for example, have a person that's going along and have the camera move around to follow them. That is something that Blender can do. The last thing is, so make sure that you do animation to actually render it out, and it will take a good long time. So you don't want to do animations very often except to see how your progress is going. So watch out for that. That's basically it. That is all of Blender for this particular class.